In September 2022, when a 22-year-old girl, Gina Masamini, died in the custody of the morality police in Iran, it really shocked the world. Although previously also this discrimination against women and girls was rampant, however, the world's conscience was suddenly really rocked, I think, and it really was jolted. The international community came forward along with obviously both inside and outside Iran, and the UN Human Rights Council mandated an international fact-finding mission on Iran. And the idea was to investigate thoroughly, impartially, and independently these human rights violations, particularly relating to women and girls. And then along that, also to preserve the materials and evidence that this mission was able to gather in a manner that might be used for any future accountability or legal proceedings. Now, this was the first time in the history really of any mandate on Iran where an investigative mission was undertaken. The first thought that came to my mind was how cheap human life had become in comparison to a piece of cloth. And how could a young life be taken simply on the basis of the fact that the positioning of that piece of cloth was not in the right place? And that shock, I don't think, has gone away. Today also I feel that hurt. One of the first things we did was to get in touch with the government of Iran through the permanent representative in Geneva. And throughout our mandate, we have written 21 detailed, long letters asking very detailed information. We were very clear that in order for us to be able to be impartial and independent, we would like to give the Islamic Republic of Iran the opportunity to share with us any information in this regard so that we were able to assess it and evaluate it against other sources that we would receive. That is why we are standing on methodologically a very solid foundation, because we took evidence from primary sources, from secondary sources, corroborating what these sources have said, and we reached out and were very, very closely analyzing and collecting materials from the government of Iran's own conversations and press statements and publications. However, the challenge that we faced, the biggest challenge, was that the government of Iran did not wish to engage with us. Even after 21 letters, even after continuously seeking further information so that we could hold that and analyze it alongside what we had gathered. The other challenge, of course, aligned to this is that because the government of Iran unfortunately did not wish to engage with us, we sought access to the country and we were denied that consistently. The third challenge that I would say is that we had to balance very sensitively the in accordance with the do no harm principle, that those witnesses and evidence that was being brought before us, that it did not endanger those people who were coming forward to share them with us. And for the first time, a UN investigative mechanism focused also specifically on children. It was women and children. And there we had an extra due diligence to take care of. We did make contact with a presidential committee which was called the Special Committee to investigate what was called the unrest, the 2022 unrest. And we made contacts on more than one occasion with them. and we had online meetings with them. I have to say that almost 40 reports that the High Council for Human Rights in Iran published, we were able to analyze and look at those as well. So anything that we could lay our hands on from the government of Iran perspective, we have used them, we have referenced them both in our mandated report as well as in our conference room paper. And then in the conference room paper, we have also reflected the views of the response of the Islamic Republic of Iran to our mandated report. So we have tried our very best to make it a level playing field and for it to be equality of arms. The biggest obstacle, of course, was lack of access to Iran, to the country. Alongside that was the continuous silence on the part of the Iranian government to our 21 very detailed letters seeking information along all our lines of investigation. And thirdly, I would argue that because of online surveillance, the surveillance techniques, there was obviously a basic, following the do no harm principle, we became reluctant to try and seek information from within the country as freely as we could have had there not been the very close surveillance within Iran. So these, I would say, were three major challenges. We put out a call for submissions very early on, and we received 295 submissions. We interviewed 134 witnesses and victims. So that is a significant number of people, and this also include children and women and men. And we have to say that being very cognizant and aware of the challenges that we were faced with, we were really heartened and humbled, I would say, at the level of trust that people gave to us in terms of them coming forward. And we would say, in some areas from Iran, people from inside the country were saying, we don't care if we're under surveillance or something. You can call us and we will talk to you. But we had to be cautious to protect them. I had never ever imagined that any human being could target another human being's eyes. That, I think, was the most shocking. What shocked me again, as I say, is that a human being could become so cruel as to take away such an important, every part of the human body is very precious. But for eyes, that's something that really disables you for the rest of your life. And it makes you so vulnerable. And the women and the girls that that came forward, and this young man who came forward, all of them were saying how unrepentant those people who were shooting at us were. It wasn't by mistake. This entire year we have dedicated to try and develop a picture of the truth. That we have tried our very best to be impartial and to be independent. And the reason for this is that we wanted truth and justice for the victims. And mind you, those victims were also not just people who were in the protests and who were persecuted and who were imprisoned and who were executed. There were innocent bystanders, and we include the members of the forces who were there as well. I mean, they're all human beings. For us, every human life is valuable and precious and important. And therefore, we would like everyone to read our report closely and to take it to the next level of implementation, of accountability, because these victims and their families are looking for justice. They've lost their loved ones. Those who are alive are struggling to build their lives. Let me just tell you that as a member of the FFM Iran, and this is for the first time in the history of the UN that's an all-women investigative body. But each one of us have tried to maintain independence and impartiality. And therefore, we were, as professionals, we were evaluating what happened in the protests, the response of the government and the security forces, the aftermath and what's happened. And we tried our best to keep the emotions that were driving us as women, we tried to keep them measured and balanced. I see what other women have gone through, but then I see what children have gone through, I see what the men have gone through. And I have to try and drive that difficult, narrow path of maintaining my credibility as a professional, and also analyze, assess, evaluate on the basis of the evidence that I get. And I'm hoping that we have managed to strike that balance in our report.